start any time you like.
What time is it?
1:56.
Okay, excellent.
I'll let you know when we get to 2:56.
2:56.
So I need to get the
probably already had their
TV.
full of tall blondes in that last presentation.
She's gonna
And
do
Michael
a
just did.
Yeah, that'd be good.
PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is, I'm not really talking about my book, but I'm just letting you know I do have a book. And it's $20, so if anyone wants to hear my full story and breakdown of what I think is going on in the world of disclosure, this is called The Experiencer's Guide to Extraterrestrial Disclosure. It's called The Travellers, because they actually told me that's what they were when I asked where they were from. I'm like, where are you guys from? And they're like, we're travellers. And I know, where are you from? We're travellers, okay. So I've called it The Travellers. So I'm Rowan. I live in Brisbane. And I suppose I came out of the ET closet in 2022, but my first experiences was when I was 8. And now where do I press the button there? So that was me on the circle there in front of Christmas tree, around 1980, 1979, 1980, those sorts of times. So that's my mum and dad. Dad's passed and my mum's now in hospital. Actually, she's cracked her pelvis, so she's got dementia and she's a bit confused. My sister and my brother. So I'm not really sure whether you can see me there, but I sort of look like I'm just not quite 100% happy. Something's going on. So what was going on was I was having creatures coming into my bedroom at night time through a portal or something like that, and they were short, what I call short. I don't know what they're called, you know. So who knows? I'm not an expert. I've just had lots of weird things happen to me. So I call them short, dark hooded guys. They're about that tall, say. They're quite robust, so wide. I thought they had black skin, so I just call them dark, you know. Other people call them blue doctors. That's what Whitley Strieber calls them. Lots of other people have actually seen them, thank goodness, because I thought I was the only one, you know. And they actually all wear hoods. So these 3 short, dark-hooded men were coming to my room, and they would take me somewhere else. I can't exactly remember where they took me. I wouldn't say it was on a spaceship. I wouldn't call them aliens or anything like that, although who knows, they probably are aliens. But again, I'm not an expert, so I just called them short, dark-hooded guys. And what they would teach me is that we don't know what our reality really is. It's not material. Our reality is much more elastic than that. So they would be able to slow down time and make time go really fast. So wherever we were, we would be outside of time, say. And there would be a couple of other things that would happen, which I had to force myself to forget everything. You know, I couldn't remember everything because I was only 8 or 9. I had to go to school. So I tried to pretend this wasn't happening, or at least later on in life, you know. So they would make time and space distort. And there'd be some other strange things like lights. But what they would do, so they would take me of a night time out of the house, and no one would even know I was gone, really. And then I'd be put back into my room, into my bed, just before I would be like, I have to go to sleep before the roosters start up in the field next door, or else I'll never go to sleep. So I was having nights where I didn't sleep at all. And sometimes they would put me back in my bed and they'd be like, check this out, and they'd make the room spin, this top to bottom, and it would just go, and it would be spinning for, say, 20 minutes, 25 minutes or something like that. And that's what I mean, like they're showing me reality, what we think it isn't what we think it is, at age 8, you know. So that would never happen unless they would make it happen. So if people go, oh, it's just your inner ear, well, why wasn't I getting that all the other times except for whenever they would put me back into my bed? So I've written like Where the Wild Things Are because Mum bought that book for me, for us all, you know. Here's it. And I was like, oh great, Mum's got got a guidebook. Finally, I got like something to tell me what's happening. I'm like, oh, they are all on the front of the cover there. Goody, you know. But it wasn't a guidebook. It was really scary kid story for me anyway. Let's see. So this is what they look like. Well, it's really bad actually, because clearly it's not a very good picture with it being blown up. But I've done some research, and these things, what they call genii cuculati, means hooded spirits. So genie, isn't that a funny word? We use that word all the time. Genii means spirit. So these what genii cuculati, hooded spirits, have been seen for 2,000 years in children's. Well, put it this way, they called them like the patron saint of children, like in Celtic times or in Italian. So they would have there was these shrines built for them. There's one on Hadrian's Wall built in, like carved in, and they're all the way from France, all the way across Germany to Italy and Greece. So what are these guys? Who are they always contacting children? The health of children, like a patron saint of the health of children. That's what they kind of call them. So this is an image from communion. So again, the short, dark hooded guys, I suppose. I always thought they were men. I didn't know that they were aliens. They looked like no one, apart from E.T., the movie E.T., there was not really anything to do with it. I didn't even think that was the same thing, you know. So, what else? I had a few other experiences. I won't go about going into too much detail about everything because we've only got like a certain amount of time. It's not like I can read you my whole book or anything like that. So I've had loads of different experiences, but this one I thought would, you know, be noosa-centric. So I wanted to kind of concentrate on this one. This is the tall blondes who took me up on their spacecraft while I was awake. Again, I was awake. It's not like I wasn't hypnotized. I didn't need to, I wasn't dreaming. It wasn't anything like this. You know, I was in my backyard, and what happened was what I thought was a min light floated down as a ball about, say, this round, and it floated down, and it was kind of interacting with me. And everyone's heard of min lights maybe interacting with the outback truckers or anything like that. So I thought, oh yeah, I've heard this on Beyond 2000. I'll be towards 2000 probably then. And so I thought, oh, this one's interacting with me. And it was floating probably, I don't know, 1.5 meters in front of me. And it sort of bobbed towards me, bobbed away from me. And I had this feeling it was radioactive, so I did not to touch it. And I was sort of, because I was actually out in my backyard at night time, I didn't see anything else, right? So just, this is the timeline. And I was sort of heading backwards, like this thing's kind of coming a little bit too close to me. And anyway, what happened was it actually came at my face really fast and hit me in the face. And next minute I was floating in the air. So I was in person, I wasn't like in astral or anything like that. And I found myself, there's me there. So you can see me there, everybody. That's my rendition of what was happening. So when I looked in the sky, I saw this spacecraft. It's not very good picture of it there, but I can't find any of this sort of stuff online, you know. Look, you can find lots of discs, shapes, but rectangular, it's not a popular shape. So I haven't been able to locate it. What I could see from underneath looked like a minibus or something, and underneath it had sort of red hot coils. I can't remember the exact configuration, but it kind of had let's just say grid pattern, right? And you could see they were red hot because of the heat waves coming off them. And I was floating I just found myself floating in the air, going up towards it. And I think it's not like they messed around with my brain or anything, but it was like I was in a slightly altered state. So I wasn't really reacting. I was like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that's strange, sort of thing, going up into the sky. And it was probably about 300 meters above, and And then I heard coming from the ship, don't look down, look up. Don't look down, look up. And then I was sort of like, hang on, if I look down, am I going to fall? And I realised, so like everything kind of caught up, and it was like, oh my God, panic, panic. So I kept hearing this, don't look down, look up. So I thought to myself, oh my goodness, this is not human tech, obviously, in 1991. And I thought I better try and remember really everything that I see. So that was what I was going through my mind. I need to remember everything, I need to remember everything. So I passed up through these coils and I came up onto, say, the deck of, it's probably, say, as big as this whole lounge room. And this is what I saw. 4 tall blondes in there. This is my book, and I actually had somebody, that's my background, I painted that, and I got somebody to paint a tall blonde. So this isn't AI or anything like that, just so everyone knows. And that's a really muscular version, but they weren't so muscular or anything. But they were wearing these blue spacesuits, and they all 2 females, and terrible picture. Sorry, I'm not very good drawer, but I just wanted to explain. This is what it was like. So I'm standing there, a short blonde, and these tall blonde people are there, and it's kind of like I got this feeling like, are we? You know, you're kind of like, are we all related, sort of thing? What's going on here? And I thought, my first thought was, how am I going to deal with this? Am I going to like freak out and start screaming like an animal, ah? Or am I going to go, no, I'm just going to be like representing Earth. So I thought, I'm going to have to represent Earth here. So I was like, what am I going to do? And out spilled greetings, welcome to planet Earth. And I'm like, what am I thinking, How embarrassing. And I thought, hi everyone, and they were like, they moved backwards. They're like, whoa, get back. And one of the blonde females said to me, if you touch us, it will kill you. And I'm like, hello, this is not a friendly interaction. This is scary actually. So I was like, whoa, okay, I better be really careful here because I could die if I touch their spacesuit. That's what I thought. Is it electric? I don't know. So it then started going through my mind. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? Are you guys going to kill me, rape me, abduct me, take me away? Am I going to, what are you even doing here? And they said, no, we are inviting you to fly we want you to fly the craft. And something else that's come up, it's not in my book, but it's actually come up in my memories, that I had something special. I don't want to say anything special, that I'm more special than anyone else, it's not the point, but whatever I had in me, whether it's DNA or whether it's something, they said, if you can fly this spacecraft, that means you've got it. So I don't remember what it was. It's a thing. So what happened was I actually sat in that left-hand swivel seat, a white swivel seat of all things, in there. And I'm like, swivel seat? That's very, human. But so I sat in that left-hand swivel seat, and I think the only thing I had to do was touch a touch screen. Say, there's no such thing as computers back in 1991 anyway. Just saying. So I just stood. I had to sit down and fly this craft. So, and the tall blonde was standing next to me, and I was like, oh, it's not working. Okay, there we are. Okay, bye. And he's like, yes, you are. You're flying the craft. And I'm like, no, it's not moving at all. And he's like, yeah, you have to stand up and look down that viewing platform or windscreen, and you'll see that you're moving, because it didn't feel like we were moving in the craft. So I was standing up trying to peer down. What I could see was fences moving underneath and fields and this sort of thing. So it was just going slow. So we were obviously just going like this speed across. And he must have said, like, go a bit faster. So I'm like, no, I didn't have it in my driver's license, just saying. And I'm like, So we're flying probably, say about 300 metres, but enough that I could see the field. So I could actually see us flying over fields. And he said, well, if you think that's fast, this is fast. It's like, this is a knife, you think that's a knife, this is a knife sort of thing. Anyway, so we swapped seats. So he was sitting then next to me. I was terrified, you know, this is not fun. I was like, this guy's going to kill me with his spacesuit, and you know, I don't know who these people are. I was really scared. These other girls are sitting behind saying, you know, it will kill you, and I was just like, oh my God, panic the whole time. I was standing next to him, and so he was there, sort of thing, and I was standing here, so we're both sort of the same height, him sitting and me standing, you know. That's how short I am. Anyway, so it was really like, I was actually rereading my book because I was doing a bit more editing, and I could feel a flush coming in, like, oh God, how embarrassing, sitting there with this tall, blonde, good-looking guy, but terrifying, you know, like a, I'm not going to say like a god, but like somebody who is way more advanced than we are, sort of thing, you know. And I could feel like a flush of embarrassment while I was writing I was like, oh my God, that's a visceral reaction, you know. I actually reacted to being back in that situation again. And the next thing that he did was he just floored it, for want of a better word. No, he was obviously flooring it. But whatever he was doing, he just flew really fast. And I could see then just everything was a blur. That's how fast, I don't know where we were going. I'll show you the exact spot that we were. That's where I was living. So you can see the Sunrise Beach, is it? Sunshine Beach? Sunshine Beach, right? And I found that because that's the only house in the street that it's not a house, it's actually units, and we were in the back unit. So I know exactly where it was. I looked on realestate.com. I'm looking all in their house on realestate.com. Yes, I remember that. So that's exactly where I live. We were renting. And so there was a longer driveway, one unit in front, one unit behind, and I was out the back. So,
Oops. Oh, it's all right. It's a smart TV. It's not that smart. But
oh, hang on a second.
It'll come back on. It goes off like 5 seconds.
And
Actually, the TV is a giveaway. I'm getting a new one next week. So anybody needs one.
So if everyone is familiar with Noosa area, I used to work on Hastings Street. So I used to walk all the way along that park, all the way up to Hastings Street. I don't know how I did it now. I'm like, oh, this is like 3 kilometres every day or whatever. But it was lovely and shady because I'd walk in that bushland area.
Yeah.
So that was right next to us there. I'm only saying that because I think it's significant, because I won't worry about saying really what happened next, except for the fact that they gave me an implant. And I woke up in my bed. And there was a few other things. Like I said, I actually asked them where they were from, and they said they were travellers. And I was like, yeah, but what star system? You're obviously not understanding English. They were speaking in English, by the way. And they said, we're travellers. And I was like, what does that even mean? And it's taken me all this time to understand what on earth travellers mean. And we're coming now into disclosure, where we are trying to get our head around, you know, multi-dimensional things and all this sort of stuff. So we're thinking, you know, these things can come in and out of star systems or wherever they come from, time, who knows. So we actually went in that direction, up in the northwesterly direction. I don't know how I know, I just know that's where we were. And actually I drew a line, goes all the way to Pine Gap. Just
Yeah, that's what I just got.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Pine Gap. So let's just leave that there. I don't know what's happening. I wish I knew, you know.
I just got you landing there, so DC or sharp TC.
Woo!
Wow.
I think they implanted you there.
Where do you think this one?
That's the that's where they put the implant in.
It came,
And
they
the back
told me
of
they
your
were
neck,
implanting.
in the back of your neck, but it's
here.
also connected down in here.
Oh.
Oh, and you just got that now. You had that info comment. So that's amazing, because that's where Rowan's implant is.
Yeah,
Put
I'm
it
a
up there.
because I removed thousands of them.
Wow, this seems
Well,
a physical implant.
Yeah, I think so. But I woke up as soon as it was a bit coercive that they made me have to agree to it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
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 They
Free will.
So
And I do that. No, most people don't agree to it, but they're very colours.
Yes, so I woke up in my bed like that. Well, you know, go down, but then I remembered what happened between, you know, so I was laying in bed and my boyfriend at the time wasn't at home when all this happened. But he was in bed and I was like, oh, that's weird. Oh, he was supposed to be staying at a friend's house and he woke up and he went, no, you weren't here when I came in. And I was like, oh, that was so ridiculous. I didn't go in. How do you deal with this? Anyway, so I was all just like pretending, no, you're wrong. What's up with you? Anyway, so when you had yours, because you're not going to say, oh, I was abducted by a tall, blonde, good-looking alien. Anyway, so
in your dreams, baby.
Yeah. I'd asked them, am I going to see you again? They said yes, and I thought, oh, they're coming that day. So I looked and spent all day. Where are they? Where are they? And I was actually put into a Noosa community board. I said, does anyone remember Shark Attack T-shirt shop? That's what I used to work. Yeah. So I walked there and I was looking. So I think it must have been like it was either a Sunday or it was a public holiday or was something. I wish I remember exactly what date it was, but I don't. I have actually looked up sightings. You can see these question marks. That's all the sightings. If you can go in and there's a layer of all the UFO sightings. I wish I got a screenshot of that because all of Australia is just all these question marks. Somebody's loaded in all the sightings for UFO groups, which is amazing. So I have found some in my book, I've written it in there, that some people see rectangular spacecrafts going low to the, or orbs like this Min light thing, or other things in that exact area in that time frame. So yeah, I'm getting correlation. But what was significant when I woke up that morning time, I put the radio on. And guess what?
Sorry, it's done it again.
The first thing I heard was the radio announcer said, I've seen a UFO that day, that night. And I was like, oh, what? You know, because you're pretending this stuff doesn't exist. You know, you have to survive as an experiencer, you just have to protect, you compartmentalize that stuff. It's not like it doesn't exist, but you can't be talking about that sort of thing. Now I do. Sorry everyone, this is me. This is the new me. Talk about it.
Yeah.
Hang on, if I escape again and then go to this little thing and jiggy over here.
Yeah.
Boing, boing. So, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, so what UFO he said was I wonder if I've got a picture of it. No. A green cylindrical, he called it a fluorescent light. So that's how big it was in the sky, a fluorescent light. He either saw 2 or 3 go either over Noosa into the ocean or behind the ocean, you know, whatever. Yeah. So let's just put that in back there because I've actually seen 2 more of those in Africa. They followed me somehow over there. So correlations in this one.
Yeah.
That's just the tall blonde picture over here.
Yeah.
Have anyone ever heard of Michael Desmond?
Yeah, I've got it at
I
home.
could never read it.
Oh yeah,
Well,
what's that?
To this day.
I wrote my book, and then when I read it, I was like, whoa, okay, because there's things in there, like that's a tall blonde something or other. That I just snipped that so everyone can see. It's like 1987. This guy was abducted by extraterrestrial beings. Blah 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 blah. They took me to their planet, which might make sense, not make sense. But I've actually just recorded a girl called Hannah over in America. I'm recording different stories because we're doing our radio show again next year. She actually was taken to a planet by a tall blonde person. She was adamant, and I was like, have you read that book? Anyway, so I wrote my book, then read that. Anyway, so I'm just saying that this is in Cairns. This guy was abducted by tall blondes in 1987. Mine was 1991. It's only like 4 years later by tall blondes. So something going on, obviously. Let's see what's next. So in 1993, only a couple of years later, I went, because I was born in England, but my dad's Scottish, so we drove from London to Arbroath, where Dad was born.
Wow.
We drove all of that. We had Christmas dinner, and then, so I actually kept travel diaries, so I was really lucky to have recorded the dates, exact dates of all this stuff. So where this isn't photos, by the way, they're just taken from, when I see something I've seen, I'm like, oh, get a photo of that, snap, you know, just screenshot things. So unfortunately, they're not real sources, but it's just Facebook. What happened was these lights were following us, but they were following us, our car, and it was like this. I actually thought that whatever that was, what must have been reflected from our car, was so perfectly aligned. Yes.
Oh.
I was 21, and so what it was 2 circles of lights, or maybe more. One was going one way, one was going the other way, and they were pulsating in and out. And I was like, is that a hubcap?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm winding window down, looking up, looking down, you know, winding it the other side, yeah, there he is again. So it followed us for hours. And we pulled up at somewhere or other, I don't know where, in the middle of nowhere, just go to a service station. You know, you're always busting when you're driving. And so I went in there and came back again. Dad's like, where the hell were you? And I'm like, I just went, what? And Heath reckons I was gone for ages. And I was like, I just went there and back again.
Yeah.
Dad was supposed to be, we were supposed to have a rest and a sleep. And then Dad starts the car up. I'm like, what are you doing? We were supposed to be having a rest and a sleep. He's like, we already had that. And I'm like, what's going on? So it wasn't for years later, I was like, oh my God, I'm missing time. So I'm assuming it was the 12
Wiping
months.
your mind.
Yes. So I actually went to Mary Rodwell. I didn't actually go there at all. We just did a Zoom session. I'm like, I've had 40 years of this stuff. I can't be sitting there with hypnotism. You'll be there for another 40 years trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah. So we just did a 1 hour unblocking of memory blocks or whatever session. So I felt like maybe I've got all my memories. So this one I kind of take with a great bit of grain of salt, but I think that the Tall Blondes found me and maybe just showed me babies that I already had or something. I have had missing babies, but that's a whole other story. Sorry.
Well, it's probably worth if you mention it. Maybe people want to know that.
Well, when I
Might
was
be important.
okay,
Absolutely.
when I was 17, I got pregnant with my first boyfriend, and I was only 17. So, and plus I'd had a car accident when I was 16, so I wasn't ready for babies or anything like that. I had this arm broke 9 times. I've got a big scar on there, this leg broken. Anyway, and that was my first small encounter. Sorry, everybody. Yes, but I chose to have an abortion. So we went to Sydney and went into the hospital, and after the like they had a twilight anaesthetic, and then the nurse comes in and she's like, there was no fetus inside you. And she's like, were you really pregnant? I'm like, yes. I was like, what? You know, 3 months, nearly 3 months. So it was nearly 12 weeks. And she's like, yeah, but there was no fetus in there. And I was like, okay. I thought, well, clearly you guys got it wrong, because clearly, you know, and at 17 I didn't understand anything about anatomical measurements. So a couple of years later, actually between Noosa, so say 1992, I was with another guy, and we'd just broken up, you know, and you're sort of like, oh, you're having fun, you're only 20 something. Anyway, so I got pregnant again, and I'd already broken up, and I was like, oh God, you know, I went to the gynecologist and I said, look, I'm sorry, we can't have this baby, you know, sorry everyone, that's just politically correct. I'm trying to state this politically correctly. Anyway, went to a different hospital, and the nurse came back and said, there's no fetus in there. I'm like, are you guys so incompetent that you missed something again? But it was a completely different doctor, and I was like, what? And of course, I didn't know, apart from the Tall Blondes, I didn't know anything about aliens or anything. I didn't know what, so yeah. So perhaps they've got babies.
They do. Clone Gap's the biggest cloning centre in the world.
Yeah, goody.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So that when you went to Mary Rodwell, you were saying that's when you might have met with
Yes,
babies.
so therefore, yeah, in this missing time episode, I felt, but I was like, you know, because it's not a memory because it's a new memory, I tend not to put as much weight into it. So, and later on, it's in the book, which I don't really touch on in this presentation, but I was doing a deep meditation, and my two babies, space babies I call them, came through, and I was able to meet them kind of like in astral spirit sort of thing, and I'm crying my eyes out, and it was, wow. So let's see.
And
what's
were
next.
they human, or were they
They look
humanoid?
human, yeah. The tall blondes look human.
Oh no, I mean
Yeah.
babies.
Yes, they didn't look. If they were hybrid, that was with the tall blondes. So
Because I had an experience that, like I saw that I had a baby with some extraterrestrial.
and were they tall blondes or
Oh, I
something?
don't know.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
just like, how many years ago? I don't know, maybe 10 or something. I'm like, like you just sort of experience it. Like, it's not that
Yeah.
lead up or anything. It's just like,
Did you meet them or you saw them, your baby?
I had just had like the experience, like, that, like, after.
I would like to hear the
Oh, no, you're right. No, it's not uncommon. It's just that we don't talk
Yeah,
about it,
don't
you know.
understand.
And I've tried to do correlations in my books of all different other people's stories, and so I'm not the only one. I'm not special, you know. These other, so many other. I've had one lady who I used to be was my client. She actually had 7 missing pregnancies, and does anyone know Glenys Mackay? Glenys Mackay?
Yes.
She lost a baby at lost.
My sister.
7 months.
Her daughter.
Yeah, she was 7 months pregnant. She had experiences with the tall blondes, and one day went to sleep. Next day, not pregnant. 7 months. That was in 1972.
Do you have any insight? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you have any insight as to why they target particular?
I can only just. I asked them one time through a meditation, and they said it's because we. I hate using the word chosen or choosing, but they use the word chose me because of who I am. There's no other explanation. My traits was what they were targeting.
Chasing, yeah.
And so, I'll just go, something I'm not touching on in this presentation, but I will say, I remember, not all my past lives, but I remember my past lives as without having regression or anything. And I remember my midlife, between lives, without having, I remember coming over from England to Australia on an aeroplane when I was 6 weeks old. So yes, I do have memories, and maybe lots of other people have things happen, but they don't remember. For some reason, I've got my memories, most of my memories, obviously, there's missing time ones. So remember I said, bookmark that green cylindrical UFO from Noosa. I travelled overseas again in 1996, went to Africa. So first we went to Zimbabwe and then South Africa on a 3-month safari, do you want to call it that? And there was we went on a canoe safari on the Zambezi River, and I've actually Googled that, so I've taken a screenshot of exactly what we were doing. So I think it's the Rift Valley, and the whole valley is just water with little islands of grass and elephants and rhinos and hippos, not rhinos, sorry, hippos and crocodiles and lions and everything else, all in this big flat area. So there's no humans living there. So we were doing a canoe safari on the Zambezi for 5 days, and we saw this. You can see it up in the. I don't have a pointer. See that's my little screenshot there of like a dot. We saw this. We call it a satellite, but in 1996, there's not zillions of satellites like there are now. So we saw this satellite go straight overhead, and one of the other people in the group said, "What's that all the way over there?" And all the way over there, over the mountains, was a green light just going across like that. Oh my God, I was like, oh my God, I know about that. And I was like, what's that? And finally I just said, I think it's a UFO. And as soon as I said that, it just disappeared behind this little wisp of a cloud. And I was like, oh my God. I couldn't say anything, obviously, didn't. And then exactly a week later, we were in the Drakensberg Mountains, which actually, has anyone ever heard of Elizabeth Clara? That's another famous one. She wrote a book, I only found out this is like another research thing. She had a baby with, I don't know what kind of tall blondes or not tall blondes they were. Sorry. From another planet. So she wrote a book called Beyond the Light Barrier. This was in 1956, and where it was this Drakensberg Mountains. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is like a whole other weird correlation again, and where is in, of course, everyone's heard of the Ariel School UFO sighting in 1994. Anyway, it's a whole other story there. So, okay, so the second sighting, we saw this, we were camping in the Drakensberg Mountains, and the mountains are all sort of around us there, and I saw this light go overhead again, and I was like, wow, everyone, there's the light, and I was trying to get people's attention. This was just before nightfall, so it was still blue up in the sky, but it was getting dark in the valley sort of thing. We were trying to hurry along and clean teeth and eat dinner and all that before it got really dark. And I saw this light go across, and I thought, I was trying to like tell somebody, last time we saw this, there was this really weird UFO that we saw afterwards. And I looked up, and there's the UFO above us. And I'm like, God, I was talking about it. So this massive thing, and I say massive because it was between clouds, like above the clouds. How big is that above clouds, you know? And it was so, it was like a rod of glass, but it was green glowing everything was green, but on the ends it was like optic fibre. You know how optic fibre has more light in it, exactly like that. So it's obviously some sort of, I don't know, I guess some sort of mothership.
And it's horizontal, the first one is vertical. Is that what
Yes, that's right. One was going across like that, and then the other one was going, so you could actually see the satellite or whatever it was, and then they were going like that until they just disappeared. And of course everyone was like, oh yeah, who cares? And I'm like, are you guys mad? Isn't anyone interested in this sort of stuff? Anyway, so here's just some other pictures that I found. So obviously these are not isolated things. You know, I just found whatever. That's obviously AI or somebody's rendition. Yeah. So yeah, this is what I mean. This is again. So this is not. It's not just me. There's stuff going on. I don't know what's going on. So what's next? Okay. So then I had about 20 years experiences with the greys. Just for something new. So that's 3 different species. Like, yeah. You know, this is why it's so hard, because people don't believe you, because they're like, of course you didn't, don't be ridiculous. I'm like, yes, I did, I remember all this stuff. So what would, I'd say for about once a year, a similar scenario would happen, and it's all sort of merged into one scenario. What would happen was I'd find myself awake outside with a group of other people, and everyone was in a semi-altered state of semi-sleep, for want of a better word. And I would find myself awake, and I'm like, oh, I'm awake, hey, I'm awake, wake everyone else up by accident, like everyone's screaming, and I'd be, so what we would see was a black triangular spacecraft. Never heard of it before, except for this time, in my experiences. Now you hear of them all the time, but I'd never heard about a black triangular spacecraft, except in my experiences. So you'd see this little tiny triangular spacecraft right above, and then it would drop down onto us and just land above us, and we would somehow get into it. And I would be left just to wander around the craft. I never had any experiences where I'm like laying on a table. I don't remember that in any of this. But what I do remember was every time I'd have a face-to-face with that grey alien. None of the other, that's her. And that's her, I reckon. Anyway.
That's Skinny Bob, right?
It's Skinny Bob. Has anyone heard of that? I don't know why they call it Skinny Bob. I'm like, it's clearly a woman. But that's what she looked like. So we would sort of sit facing each other, and we would mind meld somehow. And she would be inside my mind going, yes, but you're still judging me. Yeah, you still think I'm ugly, but you still, for time and time again. So this is what the whole thing was, learning to feel love for something that is different.
Yes.
And I was clearly representing humans, because I'd be like, don't worry everyone, they won't hurt you, we'll be fine, you'll get back in your bed. And I'd be like, kind of like, calm down, it's not that bad. So that was my role during that. That's why I would wake up, I think, because I was the one that was I'd had all this experience, apparently, that they would trust me and going, yeah, she'll manage that group, So then, again, like in Noosa, I would wake up in my bed and like, what? But then what would happen was there'd always be the UFO reports. So I was able to find I actually have it written down, dates. They were like, here's all the UFO reports around that date of this exact craft sort of thing. So anyway, so this is just some other pictures that apparently people have taken, but with AI, you just don't know these days. Or and this is the other question, is things being reverse engineered, or that's apparently supposed to be a patent of it? Yeah, so people might go, oh, they're only human craft. Well, I'm like, these ain't human,
Yeah.
This is, so with the grey, I'll just say, with the grey lady, I'll call her, she would be coming towards me and I would feel from a distance her love radiating. And I would be like, if somebody can feel, I call it universal love, that's the only words I can explain. It's like this pure love, or it's the only words that I can find, is universal love radiating from her. And I'll be like, if somebody can feel that much love and be that old and wise, can they be bad? And that was the question that I was asked all the time. So I don't think that the ones that I had experiences with were my lab or any kind of human robots or AI or anything. This one was a being that was trying to teach universal love, I felt. So just as a kind of, tying everything up, these are the beings that I've seen. So these are also other beings that other people have drawn and written down, and where the wild things are. So you can see that one there, they look very similar. They've got big mouths, leathery skin, I've heard other people say, or face of gorillas is another one. And so here's what I reckon in history. So are these guys time travellers? Could be, yeah. So this is what I mean by travellers. So it's taken me all this time to figure out what travellers even are. So then we've got these sorts of ones, tall blondes, tall whites. Other people's images that they've drawn that I found on Facebook again. And are these guys space travellers? So there's another reason for being travellers. And then we're going back to the greys, and these ones astral travellers. So now we're getting into like the more spiritual sort of stuff, and how then we can access other dimensions ourselves with our chakras. And in third part in my book is I've tried to say how to experience stuff. So us meditating and trying to access our chakras and other dimensions spiritually. So I think that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for listening.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
We've got 15 minutes for questions.
Oh, questions. Put your hand
I've
up.
got a question.
Yes.
And I'm interested in Maggie's insight
yeah.
too. With the implant, did you feel like that was, for what purpose did you feel like that was for?
I can only guess again, because a lot of this stuff was, I didn't get the answers straight away. I was like, like, what do you think?
He's always an exclamation mark.
I would say it's an opening to explore. Like you get shown anything sometimes, in your spiritual world and all this sort of stuff that makes you then go, wow, I need to start investigating things. I need to start researching stuff. I believe in this thing because I have no other choice, because this is my memories, you know, this is exactly what I've been through. I can't pretend this stuff didn't happen to me, even though everyone's like, you're crazy or this stuff doesn't exist. And I've had lots of other experiences. So I do think that I've actually had 2 implants. One when I was with the dark hooded ones, and I've got a mark here, like an actual round circle thing there. And that's exactly where, so I went on that day, the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, have they given me an implant? And I thought that they were going to shave the back of my neck, like an uppercut. And I was like, oh my God, I've had that haircut. So I was like, oh, thank God I don't have that haircut. Anyway. And that's when I've had to come to the conclusion that these things must be tracking me, because they fly above my car, and they're above me in the middle of
all the time, every conversation, everything.
And I can
log
actually,
it. It'll actually, if you go to the back end of their spaceships, they have backup rooms, they have backup computers with every bit of information about you.
well,
And so do you think it's implants to support your spiritual evolution, or it's an implant for tracking for their own purposes?
all of it, all the above.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of the above.
It's a
They get the
two-way.
information.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
two-way
and
thing.
I have been given guidance for this book. You know, I have a lot of downloads, for want of a better word. So at night time I'll sometimes wake up and go, oh my God, I've had the whole answer for something, you know, and I'm like, I must type this out. And at 3 o'clock in the morning I'm punching things
Rowan
into a
wrote the
book.
book mostly at 4 in the morning.
Yeah,
She get
because
up,
I've
she was
had all
driven
this
to-
information come through.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've got a whole section of NHI. Anyone know what NHI is? Non-human intelligence. What is that? And you know what? It's everything.
It's
You've got cryptids, you've got extraterrestrials, you've got interdimensionals, you've got fairies, you've got,
everything.
yeah. So we, as a society, are just now piecing it all back together and going, you know what? All this is interacting with us. If anyone has a look at any range of any encounters, they're all different. So what's interacting? Why are we pretending this thing doesn't exist? You know, that's my mission, is to help people to, and to just come to terms with it and to go, you know what, this stuff is happening. What happens? How do we deal with this? How do we all deal with this? So I've been given that guidance to help people to deal with it. Yes. Hello.
Hi, thank you for sharing all your conscious experiences.
Thank you.
At any point, do you feel that consent was asked? At any point at all?
I assume, that's what I've written in my book too, that between lives, you know, we all listen to near-death experiences and that sort of stuff. Everyone says you have an agreement,
It's a soul contract.
a soul contract, and I'm like, who on earth would want this stigma and ridicule and judgment? And I tell you, it's been all of that throughout my whole life. I've lost family members, I've lost friends, I've lost husbands. Thankfully, you're amazing. You never judge me. We met at a UFO show.
That's right, yeah, we met at Carver
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
But at no point in this experience was there any consent given. You're saying the only consent might have been between lives.
I can't answer the question because I can't go back in time.
And you still got a lot of missing.
Yes.
Saram doesn't have all the information.
No.
And won't get hypnosis. I keep encouraging her to. but
Well,
she
I
doesn't
don't know
want
how stressful it's going to be, because I tell you, it's been not easy. This has not
Yeah,
been
it's
an
not
easy
easy.
journey.
Yeah.
I guess what I mean is, like, at any point you just stand up and go, I'm revoking the consent that may have been apparent. And then
I didn't,
guess,
no.
or is that something that you're actually happy to continue on with these experiences? It's a choice
They have had
at some point.
like eras. So I had this and then that and then that. But now it's none, I think, except for telepathic. So I do have like a kind of guidance, for want of a better word. Yeah, so I wouldn't say I wouldn't ever do it again, because you know, I don't feel special, but I'm just trying to help people to get to the next stage.
Yeah.
You know, we've got another stage that this whole world can do if we don't blow it up beforehand, and that's a choice too. You know, we've got this choice of us being the best beings we can possibly be, like, and use them as an example, because they can radiate love, we can radiate love. You know, if they can be telepathic, we can be telepathic. If they can time travel, we can too. So this is where I believe that we can learn from everything that they are teaching us. They don't sit down and teach you. You get taught by demonstration, them doing it.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
The sleep paralysis that you had up there and didn't talk about. I wonder what that is, because it happens sometimes.
Well, I've come to the conclusion that when we are in an altered state, whether it's daydreaming, driving even, sleep paralysis, meditation, other ways, they can put us into an altered state. We actually then become interdimensional. It's very hard for us to get our head around, but if you think about like our chakras keep going up. And when we're in that higher chakra, we're in an altered state. So that's why we can, this is another thing, this is a download everyone, here it comes. It was like, wow, I finally understood what dimensions are, because we can identify dimensions when you hear silence or buzzing or...
It's in the silence.
Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes there's strange sounds, or there's popping sounds, or people say that they're going through like viscous sort of Vaseline. That's another dimension. Or the colours change, like when people say, and including Our Lady of Fatima, all the colours changed. So that's like, or even maybe they're blue aliens or green or another kind of colour. So this is us going into other dimensions. So yes, we can do this somehow. Don't ask me how. I can just tell you, we can all just try and experience it by being that in an altered state. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much now. Are you to ask a question?
I want to ask a question, that's right. When you've met these beings, physically I assume?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Yeah. So have they ever indicated that you've been one of them in a different lifetime?
No.
Never.
No.
Do you think your lifetimes are all human, or you've been galactic in other lifetimes?
I think I've definitely had a lot of human ones.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of spiritual. I have had where I've jumped back in time before, where I looked down and I had long dark hair, and all the walls had changed from white to wood, timber slats. And I felt like I was in my 40s, but I was only in my 20s when this happened. So, and I'm like, wow, did anyone else see that? And they're like, no. So I was another person in the year like 500. Somehow we'd swapped something. So sorry.
Can I ask what year you were born?
1972.
1970.